Hey everyone, welcome back to new video, and in this video we're going to talk about subject family of our RxJava. So subject family will act as both observable and observer at the same time. We have four different types of subject in RxJava. We use PublishSubject, BehaviorSubject, ReplaySubject and Async Subject, and we'll discuss one by one. So let's begin our journey with PublishSubject. So function main, and in this I'm gonna create my publish subject. So it's very easy. You can simply use here publish subject dot create, and I want to emit here string values. That's why I'm gonna give the type string. As I told you, it act as both observable and observer. So property of observable is to emit values, so we'll use on next to emit values. So subject on next, and I'm gonna emit here first, and subject on next, I'm gonna emit the second. So we are emitting two values. Now we're gonna observe these changes on the subject. So to do that, you can simply use subject, and we are not going to create any explicit observer for this. We have a function naming subscribe, and in its trailing lambda we are getting the values one by one. So I'm using here print ln and print the values. Now when I execute this main function, as you can see, we are getting first and second. So we have a problem in here, and it says the result of subscribe is not used, and if you check the type is disposable. So disposable is eventually used to dispose your subscription when you are done using of it. So for this we have composite disposable naming variable, and this is a object of our composite disposable. Now we are getting a disposable from this subject.subscribe function. So I'm gonna store this thing in dispose, and after that I'm using composite disposable and add this disposable into my composite disposable. And at the end of our function, we're gonna simply remove this subscription from our memory. So to do that, you can simply use composite disposable and call dispose. That's it. This will remove this subscription from our memory. By doing this, it will also optimize your memory. Now when you re-execute it, nothing change, everything will be fine, first and second. Now what will happen if I attach one more subscribe to my subject after this emission? So subject dot subscribe, and I don't want to attach this thing my disposable for a time being. Just to show you, I'm using here print ln and print the values, but before that I'm gonna add a prefix naming second. Okay, so when I execute it, so first second, this is coming from our top subscription, but from the bottom we are not getting anything. This is because when you emit something in your publish subject, it will eventually give you the emission in your first subscription. So because we have already subscribed this block to this subject, that's why we are getting this information in here. And after this emission we are subscribing this subscription, that's why we are not getting this emission in this block. So that's it for our publish subject. Now we're gonna see behavior subject. So for that, just change this thing from publish subject to behavior subject, and I'm gonna use here different function which is create default, and default value is empty. Cool. So rest of things are pretty much same. So we are attaching a subscription here. We are emptying two values, and at the end we are attaching one more subscription. Now when I execute it, you see difference. So you can see in the first subscription we are getting the first and second, and in the last subscription we are getting the second, or you can see the latest last emission. So what does it mean? It means that your behavior subject will eventually cache the last emission, and when you attach new subscription to your subject, it will give you the last emission which is cached. So this is the difference between behavior subject and publish subject. Now we have one more subject which is async subject, and I'm using here create operator to create it. Type of this thing is string. So now when you execute it, okay, so you are not getting anything. This is because when you are using async subject, until and unless you are not calling subject.onComplete, it will never emit anything to your subscription. So at the end, I'm gonna use my subject and call onComplete. And now when I execute it, you can see we are getting the values. So from the first subscription we are getting the second, and from the last subscription we are getting the second. So it will only give you the latest emission. It will never give us the first emission because it is designed to give you the last emission. That's why we are receiving here second and second. So it doesn't matter if you create, let's say, one more subscription. So we have subscribe and use here println, and this time I'm gonna call this third and use it. So it will give you third second, as you can see in here. So it will also cache the last information or the last emission and return you only the latest or the last emission. And if you create any new subscription, eventually it will give you the last emission. Cool. So we are done with our async subject, and also we'll discuss the differences between publish subject, behavior subject, and async subject. Now it's time to see the replay subject. So we have here replay subject, and I'm gonna remove this subscription, I mean the third subscription. So rest of thing is pretty much same. Now when I execute it, as you can see, we are getting the first second, and if you attach any new subscription, automatically it will provide you all the previous emissions too. It is not like that it will give you the latest emission, it will give you or provide you the all the emission. That means it caches the information. When I remove this subject.onComplete, still it works because it is not async subject, as you can see in here. So these are the different subject family that we have discussed, and also we discussed the differences between them. Now we are going to use the publish subject in our composable to see how we can use it in our composables. So for that, I'm going to create a composable and call this counter. So basically we are going to create a counter app. So first we require an state naming counter. I'm using here a remember savable mutable state of 0. Import it. Okay, so we have counter, and corresponding to that we have subject. Remember, so we're gonna use here publish subject create, and this time I'm gonna use here type unit because we just want to emit an event. So we have subject, we have counter, and next we have disposable. Remember composite disposable. Now I'm gonna create a column, and in this column I'm using my modifier fill max size. Its vertical arrangement is on the center, and its horizontal alignment is also on the center. Now in this column I'm having a text which is eventually used to show us the counter. Just below to it we have a spacer height of 12 dp. Import this dp, and just below to it we have a button. So on click we'll just going to write the logic. In the UI I'm having a text which says increase. Now we are going to write a logic for incrementing our counter. So for that we're gonna use our subject and just emit an event. Because type is unit, that's why I'm using here unit. So what it will do, it will simply emit an event to our subject. I'm using a launch effect and execute this block, and also I'm using a disposable effect. Key is unit, and we have on dispose. So when our composable dispose from the screen, we'll use subject, sorry, not subject, we use dispose, disposable, and dispose all of the things that we have present in this disposable. So we have a variable, and the variable name is dispose. We use subject and simply do subscribe on it. So when user click on this button, we're gonna emit an event. So this event will be coming in our subscribe, and in this subscribe I'm gonna use my counter and increment our counter, right? So we have a disposable, and this disposable is simply used to dispose our subscription at the end of our screen. So we have a very simple counter composable. In this counter composable we have state, we have publish subject, and we have disposable. In the launch effect we are attaching, or you can say subscribe to our subject, and when we receive any event we wanna increment our counter, and at the end we'll simply take this disposable in a dispose variable, and at the end we'll adding this dispose into our disposable, and in the disposable effect we're gonna dispose it everything once our composable is not visible to the screen. And this is our column. So now I'm gonna use this counter in here, and in this counter we have modifier. Padding is coming from inner padding, fill max size. So in our column we are using the small modifier, which is cool. Now instead of running this thing in our emulator, I'm using here preview. Okay, so this is our counter and I want to use this thing in interactive mode. So when you click on this increase, as you can see, it will increase our counter state. So by using this, you can actually use your publish subject. Similarly, you can use behavior subject, async subject, and ReplaySubject based on your use cases. So that's it for this video. In this video we cover subject family of our RxJava and how to use subject family, and also we saw what are the main differences between our subject family. Goodbye.